The Indo-European family of languages is simply too large and influential to be condensed in one single video. In our previous video on the topic, we discussed the likely origins of the family and its spread throughout Asia and beyond, while also talking about some of its most well-known Western branches, such as the Greek and Romance subfamilies of languages. However, there are still many Eastern Indo-European languages we have yet to cover in detail. These include subfamilies with hundreds of millions of speakers, such as the Balto-Slavic and Indo-Iranian languages, smaller but still vibrant subfamilies like the Albanian and Armenian branches, and long-extinct subfamilies like the elusive Tocharian and Anatolian branches. In this episode, we will cleave eastwards and follow the linguistic footprint of the Indo-European language family towards the rising sun, exploring the origins, history, and associated cultures of the eastern branch of Indo-European tongues. Welcome to our second video on the Indo-European language family, focusing on its largest, most isolated, and extinct branches. Now, were we actually making this journey across the Indo-European world, we'd run into issues with cell phone services pretty quickly, but for help with that, we can turn to our sponsor today, Saily. Saily is an eSIM service that cuts out the classic traveling method of changing SIM cards for different countries to avoid roaming charges and inferior service. Instead, you prep an eSIM on your phone before you leave using the Saily app. Then when you travel, you cut out both the fees and the hassle. No SIM swaps, no phone number changes, and no disruption to your overall service. It works in 190 countries, has 24/7 customer support, works with any iOS or Android device, and offers a full refund if it ends up not working. It even offers security services like ad blocking and malware protection. Basically, Saily is all you need to get your cell phone ready for travel pretty much anywhere. And you might as well do it with a discount. Go to saily.com/kingsandgenerals to browse deals and get the app, or browse in the app, and then use our code kingsandgenerals at checkout for 15% off your selected plan. While some branches of the Indo-European language family are vast, consisting of dozens of separate languages, others are smaller, containing only one or two languages. One of these smaller branches, which we have previously discussed, is the Greek language family. But to its east, in the Caucasus Mountains, lies another such branch, the Armenian branch. This branch consists exclusively of the Armenian language, whose modern iteration is broadly divided into Western and Eastern Armenian. The origins of Armenian and its relation to other Indo-European branches are somewhat elusive. Some have tried to fit it into the same subfamily as Greek, while others have tried to connect it to the Indo-Iranian tongues. Both language branches have influenced older forms of Armenian, but it is unclear if this is because they share a common linguistic ancestor, or from later cultural exchanges after these languages had already become distinct. The first Armenian script appears in the 5th century CE, but the ancestors of the Armenians were already living in their homelands of Anatolia, the Near East, and the Caucasus far before that. This is indicated by antique states, like the ancient Kingdom of Armenia, which we have done a video on. As we have no previous linguistic corpus to discuss, we will begin in the 5th century CE, when the Armenian alphabet was standardized from the Greek alphabet by the hymnologist Mesrop Meshtots and the Patriarch Sahak of Armenia. Throughout its history, the Armenian linguistic landscape has been highly standardized due to its liturgical usage in the Armenian Apostolic Church. It largely spanned across the regions of traditional Armenian presence in modern-day Armenia, Turkey, and other parts of the Caucasus. However, the language was in constant dialogue and contact with its Iranian and Hellenic language siblings, which resulted in quite a few loanwords from Persian and Greek during the Sasanian and Byzantine periods. Over time, the classical Armenian that developed from the 5th century CE onwards gave way in vernacular speech to Middle Armenian, which was dominant from the 12th to the 18th centuries CE, and was the language of kingdoms like Cilician Armenia, a Catholic Crusader-aligned state in what is now modern-day Turkey. In the 18th century, the modern Armenian language arose with an intriguing development. Much like Serbo-Croatian, which has 4 varieties and many dialects, modern Armenian is what is called a pluralistic language, meaning it has more than one standardized modern variety. These are Western and Eastern Armenian. Western Armenian was spoken in Anatolia before the Armenian genocide and continues to be spoken by the Levantine and Mediterranean Armenian communities. Eastern Armenian is spoken in the countries of Armenia and Iran, as well as in the diasporas of the former Soviet Union. Despite its singular branch, Armenian continues to stand strong as a rich and versatile language. Another branch of the Indo-European language family that is relatively small but equally fascinating is the Albanian or Albanoid branch. Like Armenian, modern Albanian has two large varieties: Geg, which is spoken in northern Albania, Kosovo and North Macedonia, and Tosk, which is spoken in southern Albania and Greece. In addition, there exists a third and lesser-known variety of Albanian known as Arbëresh, which is spoken in parts of Italy. Albanian has several unique linguistic features not seen in other Indo-European languages, such as putting the definitive article after the word it is defining. Although Albanian is today classified as its own separate branch of Indo-European, it is possible that it was part of the same ancient Indo-European spread that brought the Greeks and Anatolian Indo-Europeans to their antique homelands sometime in the Bronze Age. Albanian also shares some numerological similarities to the Slavic languages. However, this is likely not indicative of ancient common ancestry, but the result of the two Indo-European subgroups' cohabitation of the Balkans from the medieval era and beyond. Albanian is likely descended from the ancient Illyrian language in some capacity. However, constructing a clear history or lineage of this transition is difficult due to how poorly attested the now extinct Illyrian language is in the archaeological and historical record. The Illyrian language dominated most of the Western Balkans since at least the 8th century BCE, coexisting with Thracian, Dacian and Greek. During the Hellenistic and Roman periods, influences from Latin and Greek trickled into the vocabularies of the Illyrians, who faded away as a linguistically and culturally distinct people during the late Antique period in the 5th century CE, when the first Slavic tribes began migrating down to the Balkans. It is unclear how much lineage the Albanian peoples shared with the ancient Illyrians, but they were certainly present in the Balkans alongside the Slavs throughout the Middle Ages. An inscription from 1284 in Raguse in Dubrovnik mentions a crime witness describing an Albanian speaker in the city, while in 1482, a text in Old Albanian was found describing the baptismal formula, written by Pal Engeli, Archbishop of Durrës. This language was spoken by many important Eastern and Southern European figures during the medieval period. Many Albanians rose to high prominence during the height of the Ottoman Empire, with one Albanian dynasty even ruling Egypt for a time. The modern standardization of the Albanian language occurred in 1909, based on the Tosk dialect. This newly standardized variation of Albanian was used by the nation of Albania, which gained independence from the Ottomans in 1912, and was later adopted by communist Yugoslavia as well. Other varieties of Albanian continued to exist, but as they were spoken by Albanian communities in Greece and Italy, they were often repressed due to Greek and Italian nationalism. They continue to be spoken in those countries, but are considered at risk today. Overall, the Albanian branch continues to thrive in its pluriform varieties, despite threats and persecution of ethnic Albanians throughout the 20th century. Let us now move east to the Anatolian Peninsula. Today, this sun-baked land is dominated by the non-Indo-European Turkish language. Yet in the Greco-Roman era, it was home to a tapestry of Indo-European, Iranian, Celtic, Hellenic, and Armenian tongues. Still earlier, during the Bronze and Iron Ages, Anatolia was home to its unique branch of homegrown Indo-European languages, which have long since gone extinct. This long-gone Anatolian branch of Indo-European included Hittite, Luwian, Lydian, and many other small languages in the region. The Anatolian languages are truly ancient, having diverged as a distinct subgroup of the Indo-European language family as early as the 3rd millennium BCE. The Anatolian Hittite language was among the most influential languages in the Mediterranean in the Bronze Age by virtue of the mighty Hittite Empire. In contrast, its close cousin, the Luwian language, is theorized by some to have been the language of the ancient Trojans from the Iliad. The Anatolian languages were not one subfamily of Indo-European, but several, with Hittite, Lydian and Carian all forming separate branches of the language family. Eventually, the expansion of the Achaemenid Persian Empire and Greek Macedonian Empire into Anatolia meant that both Persian and Greek outpaced the Anatolian languages as the most important languages in their own native peninsula. Thus, the Anatolian tongues began to retreat, and by the 2nd century CE, the last known Anatolian language in Pisidia appears to have died out. This tragic end meant that 3 millennia of unique literary production came to an end. Another Indo-European language native to Anatolia was Phrygian, which was spoken in the eastern parts of the peninsula. The language used the Greek script and appears in the historical record as early as the 8th century BCE. In terms of grammatical structure, it seems to have been close to Greek. Phrygian was a remarkably long-lived language and may have survived as late as the 5th century CE. Its similarities with ancient Greek have led some scholars to suggest that they were part of the same branch, known as Greco-Phrygian, though this is contested. Continuing on our Indo-European journey, we arrive at colder, more northerly places in Eurasia, where the so-called Balto-Slavic languages appear. But from what we can attest, the origins of this branch lie somewhere in Eastern Europe, and diverged around the 3rd to 2nd millennium BCE into the Baltic and Slavic families of languages. Given that no texts from the period or region exist, further pinpointing when this divergence occurred is difficult. Historically, the Baltic languages formed in two branches, East Baltic and West Baltic. The West Baltic branch, which is now extinct, used to be spoken along the coasts of the North Sea, where Poland and Lithuania are today. The only historically attested language in this branch is the Old Prussian language, which was spoken around what is now Kaliningrad and northern Poland. As German states, like the Teutonic Order, invaded and annexed parts of Prussia, the Western Balts declined in numbers or were assimilated into German culture. By the 18th century, the last surviving speakers of Old Prussian died out. The Eastern Baltic branch includes the Latvian and Lithuanian languages. These two languages, which are still alive and well today, appear to share a common ancestor and split from each other during the 6th to 8th centuries CE. The Lithuanian language remained prominent throughout the Middle Ages and early modern periods because the Lithuanian people were co-founders of the powerful Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Throughout the medieval period, the two languages and small dialects like Latgalian developed into their modern forms and continue to produce literature and poetry to the present day. The Proto-Slavic language was likely a collection of dialects spoken by the earliest ancestors of the Slavic peoples in their original homeland, which was likely the Polessia region of modern-day Ukraine and Belarus. An initial split occurred between southern Slavs and their cousins to the north in the early medieval period. The complex linguistic continuum of the southern Slavs can be broadly divided into the southeast branch, which includes varieties of Bulgarian, Macedonian, and Old Church Slavonic, and the southwest branch, which includes the pluricentric language known as Serbo-Croatian. The second split occurred sometime in the medieval period between the Western and Eastern Slavic languages. The Western Slavic languages are further subdivided into three branches. One of these is the Lechitic branch, which includes Kashubian, Cilician, and Polish. The second branch is called Czech-Slovak, and predictably includes the Czech and Slovak languages. The third branch, known as Sorbian, survives in its upper and lower varieties in eastern Germany. The Eastern Slavs, whose many dialects grew out of the Kievan Rus, had distinct developments that produced four languages. Russian grew over time in the Tsardom and then the Empire of Russia. Ukrainian grew out of the various dialects of Ukraine and was in constant contact with Old Church Slavonic, Polish, Belarusian, Rusin, and Russian dialects. The over 300 million speakers of Slavic languages today make them the largest Indo-European linguistic group in modern Europe. The largest umbrella branch of the Indo-European language family is that of the Indo-Iranian languages, which are split into the Nuristani, Indo-Aryan, and Iranian languages. The Nuristani languages exist only as a small pocket in the Nuristan region of modern-day Afghanistan, while the Indo-Aryan and Iranian languages are far larger and more widespread. The origins of the Indo-Iranian languages lie in the Bronze Age, when the earliest ancestors of the Indo-Iranian peoples moved from Central Asia to the regions of northern Iran and Afghanistan, and later into the Indian subcontinent, where they intermingled with the native peoples of the Indus River Valley civilization. Among the oldest attested languages in the Indo-Iranian subgroup are Old Avestan and Vedic Sanskrit, two ancient ritual languages used by the Zoroastrian and Hindu religions, which share linguistic similarities. The Sanskrit language, alongside its sister language of Pali, persisted as an independent liturgical and literary language in masterpieces like the Epic of the Ramayana and the religious texts of the Upanishads. From its first inscriptions by Saka kings in the 1st century BCE in Rajasthan, Sanskrit became a lingua franca that spread from Afghanistan to Java, enriching many regional vernaculars like Old Kannada. This process continued until the medieval period, when other languages, such as Persian, began to arrive and enrich South Asia's literary landscape. The result of this was the two major lingua francas of South Asia, Hindi and Urdu, coexisting alongside the local regional languages of South Asia. The Iranian languages are as equally diverse as their Indian counterparts and are divided into two branches that likely split after Avestan rose in the 2nd millennium BCE. The Western Iranian languages have their roots in languages like Old Persian and Median, the language of the Achaemenid Empire. Much like Greek spread to the Orient in the Hellenistic period, Iranian languages spread to the Occident from the Achaemenid period onwards, laying the groundwork for many modern Iranian languages. These waves continued under the Parthian and Sasanian empires, which used the Middle Persian language, resulting in one major language, known as Persian, dominating most of Iran, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan. Other Western Iranian languages include Balochi and the many dialects of Kurdish, as well as a myriad of other small languages. Throughout history, Persian infused countless other surrounding languages in its medieval and early modern forms. The Eastern Iranian languages include the languages of the Scythians, the Khotanese, and the Sogdians, who dominated Central Asia and parts of the Caucasus. Eastern Iranian speakers survive today through languages such as Yaghnobi and Ossetian, which have small numbers of speakers. However, the Pashto and Pamir dialects in Afghanistan and the Gorno-Badakhshan region of Tajikistan are still going strong. There remains one extinct branch of Indo-European that is truly fascinating in its geography and its contribution to global history. That branch is Tocharian, with its two languages known as Tocharian A and B. Tocharian was spoken alongside some Eastern Iranian languages in the Tarim Basin in what is today Xinjiang or Eastern Turkestan, and is also very distinct from other Indo-European languages. Its origins are elusive, as is its location in the Indo-European family tree, but scholars detected some Uralic and other non-Indo-European influences in its corpus. The most likely candidates for its origin are the Neolithic to early Bronze Age Afanasyevo culture, which lived in parts of Siberia directly to the north of the Tarim Basin. The Tocharians' arrival to the Tarim Basin is also unclear, with scholars estimating that the migration likely occurred during the 1st millennium BCE. What we do know is that around the 1st century CE, when Buddhism spread into the Tarim Basin, the two Tocharian languages were being spoken in various cities throughout the region. Using various Indic-derived scripts, known as Brahmi, as their writing systems, Tocharian A and B developed a vibrant literary tradition. By this time, both languages were separate, as the Buddhist terminology in both is very different, and thus had to be adapted into existing spoken vernaculars. Tocharian A has a smaller footprint than Tocharian B in terms of texts. However, both were very important during this period, and the language was used to spread the Buddhist message into China and Tibet. However, this flourishing only lasted for a millennium, as by the 9th century the branch had died out in favor of new languages like Old Uyghur. And thus this unique branch of the Indo-European language family perished into the dustbin of history. As we have seen in this all-too-brief overview, the Indo-European language family is a massive and highly diverse bouquet of linguistic fragrances. Billions and billions of humans speak these languages, with each branch having produced incredible literature, poetry, and wordsmithing. It is certainly something that the proto-Indo-Europeans could not have foreseen in their endless wanderings through the steppes. Still, through millennia of changes and interactions with other language families and with each other, the Indo-European languages have produced endless gems of linguistic diversity. The very language this video is in is Indo-European, which shows us how far the family of languages has come. Whether you speak Greek, Hindi, Polish, or Iranian, you have billions of people throughout the world whose language is related to yours, and that is one of the most intriguing yet subtle episodes of human history. More episodes on historical and cultural linguistics are on the way, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see them. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing, it helps immensely. Our patrons and YouTube members can watch more than 200 exclusive videos. Join their ranks via the link in the description or by pressing the join button under the video to watch these weekly videos, learn about our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our private Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.